Poetic beats. Poetic beats.
This is First GenXers.
Poetic beats. Poetic beats.
Good evening, y'all, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Classroom. This week, just featuring Suave for now, maybe potentially with O'Malley later. We'll see. But for right now, it's just me and Suave. I am your host, Dark Lord 100, and let's dive right into it. First of all, you can find us on Facebook at The Classroom Featuring. Follow us for updates for shows and just some great articles on our website, 2KK2network.com. All right, so as always, I like to challenge my co-host and their mental acumen. Look at here, Thor. You don't have to learn. You get it, brother. Okay. I'm gonna say, and I like to challenge their mental acuity when it comes to sports. And so far, I said no. Damn. Anyway, all right. So the first question is, in the 1995 MLB season, which player became the first to hit 50 home runs and 50 doubles in the same year? We'll get to that answer at the end of the segment. We're going to open up this week talking a little bit about the NFL Week 1, which saw Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua kind of gain their connection from last year with a touchdown late to help the Rams secure their victory. The Rams linebacker Nate over the Texans, that is, Nate Landman forced a fumble, which was recovered by Braden Fisk and contributed to the win over the Texans. They also, in the late window, the 49ers barely beat the Seahawks, which was a close game that we'll get to later, 17-13. The Bucks, I believe, ended up topping the Falcons, with a last-minute field goal, right?
Touchdown,
yeah. And then the Raiders got their victory, which we'll dive into a little bit more, over the Patriots. The Colts scored, I believe, on damn near every possession that they had the ball to beat the Dolphins 33-8. I want to say the Bengals barely survived 17-16 to beat the Browns. The Steelers had a shootout with the Jets in Aaron Rodgers' debut, and Travis Etienne had 150 yards in his performance as Jacksonville just crushed the Carolina Panthers. And let's see, Trevor Lawrence had a pretty good game in that game. So, Swab, your thoughts on the first week in the NFL and kind of how it played out so far, because we still got the Bills-Ravens game being played as we speak.
I mean, Mahomes lost already, so that bodes well for the rest of the league. It's still super early, but you see some things, and you're just trying to figure out how it's going to parlay to the midpoint of the season. Most teams attack the season by quarters. Those, a couple of teams are 1-0, and a couple of others are 0-1. But some of those 0-1s, you expect them to turn things around rather quickly. Just gonna be curious to see how it all unfolds and shapes up for week 2.
I'm down. Like I said, we'll get into that 49ers and Raiders win a little bit later. I want to start out with Green Bay, who not only made a statement this week by getting the big win over the Lions, convincing win too. I think it was like 28-6, or something like that, 27-6. They also made an impact this week by trading with the Dallas Cowboys for their star edge rusher Micah Parsons. This blew my mind, but didn't surprise me. You know what I'm saying with Jerry Jones, like, and how he does things. Like, him and Mike evidently couldn't find a common ground for that contract, and Jerry's showing he ain't scared to pay people because he didn't sign two other players to long-term contracts. Evidently, he just didn't want to pay Micah what Micah felt he was worth. And so from now until later on, to at least the next 4 years, Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. I was a little surprised they traded him within the conference. You know, I figured they learned from the Khalil Mack situation with the Raiders and how he haunted them playing for San Diego. Oh, no, they traded him to the Bears originally, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so they did trade him out of conference. Okay. You know, learn from what they did with them and trade him to the AFC, but nope, they traded him to Green Bay. So what do you think, bro, about Micah Parsons heading over to help the Packers try to win a Super Bowl?
Be honest, at first I was stunned, but as you kind of hear more things about it, I guess the Packers fast-tracked his physical, which they approved, and turns out he has some type of spinal issue, which will require maintenance from here on out throughout the rest of his career, including potential epidurals before games. So it looks
Wow.
like Dallas may have known this and did the deal knowing that, Micah might not be what he was for throughout his rookie deal.
Yeah.
So, on its surface, at you know, on its face, you say, oh, well, this is a slam dunk. Packers won this. But now, knowing this new information, we need to hold off for one, what they use those draft picks for, and two, what Parsons is able to give the Packers over the next 3 or 4 seasons to really see who won. But at its face, the Packers seem to have won this trade. But knowing that new information about his back and his potential availability, that could definitely change some things. And it seems like Dallas had the inside track on understanding, and it might have helped soothe making this deal go through.
Well, I know one thing. He did play today. He got a sack. He was a disruptor. Here's the thing with it. Here's where I think that the injury makes a difference, but then doesn't. We live in the era of rotational defensive linemen. So he won't need to be, or situational D lineman. He won't necessarily need to be on the field 100% of the snaps, or with what Green Bay already has, in order to be able to make an impact on that team. It's kind of like Zadarius Smith signing with the Eagles. He may start, but he's not going to be playing like more than 35-40% of the defensive downs, or defensive snaps at most. And so when you take that into account, I think that it looks, I agree, right now, depending on what the Cowboys get, with what should be, if the Cowboys are as good, or the Packers are going to be as good as I think they're going to be, and they look today, are going to be late round picks. And if Dallas is any good, it's going to be 2 late round picks, which, don't get me wrong, San Francisco's worked magic with 2 late round picks before, and found players. I believe they found Brandon Ayuk and another player in the same draft, both in the first round. So it's not impossible for Dallas to flip those players into something better. But I think here's the problem with the Dallas side. We will know, and this is where it will look for the foreseeable future like Green Bay won this trade. Green Bay, if they compete, not necessarily for a Super Bowl, but if they're competitive, they win the NFC North, they go as one of the top seeds in the playoffs, potentially get, to the second round. And it's on the strength of that defense, it's going to look like Micah Parsons, or it's going to look like Green Bay won that trade. Now, the problem where I say for the foreseeable future it's going to look like that is because those 4 draft picks, we're not going to really know what they're going to be unless Dallas trades some of those picks away. We're not really going to know what those draft picks are going to be till at least damn near the end of their rookie deal. I doubt any of this. So you're talking what, 4 years? It'll be 5 years from now for the 2 picks that they'll have next year, and then 6 years from now for the 2 picks that they get the year after that. So we're looking at least 6 years before we can really tell if Dallas truly won this trade. But for right now, Green Bay looks like they've got a hell of a head start. And if they manage to get a Super Bowl within the next 2 years, and again, it's on the strength of their defense, that just kind of locks it in that they won this trade, regardless of what Dallas does. So, all right. So speaking of that, the Cowboys lost their Week 1 matchup on Thursday to the Eagles, barely. It wasn't a blowout, but we expect divisional games to be close. You know what I'm saying? We don't expect them to be shootouts or blowouts. I would say the Eagles played a little bit under their thing. How would you say Dallas looked in its first game without Micah, as far as from a defensive standpoint?
Honestly, not bad. I mean, they kept them in the game. They had opportunities. They just weren't able to capitalize. I mean, um, I don't think the Cowboys defense without Micah will be better than they were with Micah, but I don't think they'll be incredibly worse off without Micah as well. He's a top player, but it's one of those deals where, and it's the same thing that precipitated the Raiders trading Matt. You know, we're a 23 ranked defense with you. So at worst, we might drop a couple of spots and we can still try to survive. The Raiders
Yeah,
weren't a playoff team at the time when they made the deal, and Dallas is. They have enough weapons on offense. They did get a very good player back as well.
and Kenny Clark, yeah.
Yeah, in that deal, he's an all pro. So um, the defense should they won't look terrible. They still got a lot. They had a lot of pieces around Micah, including some pretty good secondary pieces. So I expect them to do halfway decent, and it's going to come down to the offense being able to, march down the field and put up points.
Which they've been known to do in previous years. They have been known to do. So we'll see what happens with that. Now let's get to over there in Santa Clara. Well, actually up there in the Pacific Northwest, up there in Seattle. We had the Niners get a win 17-13, which was sloppy on all ends. The Seahawks won the turnover battle with Brock Purdy throwing 2 picks to the 1 fumble that they forced out of Sam Darnold. Let's see. Jackson Smith and Jigba is turning out to be a solid replacement for DK Metcalf now that Metcalf is now down there in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers, and that offense looked good as well. They seem to struggle, but Brock put it together late and did enough to help between him and Christian McCaffrey to get him the win. Big story out of this is that George Kittle came out in the first quarter, and after scoring a touchdown, is going to have an MRI on his hamstring. So the injury bug is starting already in San Francisco. No excuses, just watching it happen. What are your thoughts on the 49ers being able to squeak out a win over the Seahawks Week 1?
For the Niners season, they had to have this win. They were able to find a way to do it. Wasn't expecting much out of Seattle, but they were competitive. I think Sam Darnold, well, he wasn't really able to choose outside of where he ended up. I would have liked to seen the Vikings maintain and try and continue that run with him for at least another season before they handed over the keys to JJ McCarthy. Niners did what they needed to do. This was a game that they necessarily couldn't afford to lose. All games coming off a season like they had last year, you need every possible victory. The goal is to try to get the double-digit wins to secure a spot in the playoffs, and this was one. Now they got 9 more to go at least.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So congrats to the San Francisco and that young defense. To me, played well. Like trust me, they're going to need to step up bigger against better teams than Seattle. But I thought they played well, considering Seattle has I won't say a prolific offense, but again, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker, and Sam Darnold's not a bad quarterback. So, and this was a close game as usual. We'll see them week 18 in Santa Clara,
Could
which
have
I'm getting
playoff
you for the division
implications.
title. Yep. All right. So, John Lynch, within the last 2 weeks, confirmed the 49ers' interest in free agent receiver Kendrick Bourne after he got released by the Patriots. I hate to say this because I very rarely ever say it. I understand he came in for a workout and they actually offered him a contract, but he didn't take it. I understand them looking at him being with the injuries to the wide receiving core, but Kendrick Bourne to me was never really a standout in Shanahan's offense. So I don't think bringing him back would be anything other than a placeholder for some cats who have been standouts. What do you think, Sro?
I mean, it's a guy that has some familiarity with the system. I think that's what gives him an edge over. Honestly, there's a ton of unrestricted free agents they could have brought in, but those guys would need time. Whereas Bourne could probably come in and run 25% of the offense for the team on a game day for next week if he were signed today. So I think that's what plays into it. It's not necessarily a sexy get if they're able to do it. But if I'm Bourne, he's trying to stay in the show. It's curious he's not already on the team as a third or fourth string wideout, but he does have experience with Shanahan, so it's somebody that they can put in their back pocket, kind of feel out how things are going while they wait for Ayuk to come back to pair with Parasol.
For sure, for sure. Now we're going to jump from there. And again, as much as I like the idea of talking to him and the instant fit that he would be, I just think that they have enough right now. I think today kind of proved that to them. Like they have enough. Persall, Jennings was back on the field today. As long as Kittle's not out for too long, but they do have Luke Farrell as his backup from Jacksonville. That kid's pretty good, and and their defense is playing good. Robert Salah is going to have their defense playing. I'm going to say top 10, not necessarily top 5. I don't know, but I think they'll have them playing top 10. I think they have enough talent there to play top 10. Statistically, that doesn't mean that they're going to be elite and dominate and everything. That just means statistically, I think it'll average out to top 10. Yes, I'm hedging my bet. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, the Raiders also came away this week with a 2013 win over the Patriots in a rain-soaked game that saw rookie running back Austin Genetti, or what is his name?
Gentry,
Gentry?
Gentry.
Uh, Genty score his first touchdown. So congratulations to him. Did you get to watch any of the game or get to see the highlights?
Just the highlights. I mean, 19 carries for 38 yards. That's not going to get it done. But
Yeah,
for the Raiders, they did get a victory that, just like we were saying about the Niners, for them, they had to have this game. The
yeah,
Patriots, they're still trying to figure things out. This isn't a game that you could necessarily give up and expect to reel off a bunch in a row. So this game, starting for the season for the Raiders, it exudes confidence. These are normally the type of games last couple of years that they would have found a way to cough up. So I
mhm,
mean, Janty was passable. He didn't look great. I mean, a 2 yard average, almost less than 2 yard average on 19 carries, barely 40 yards. He did get his first touchdown. I'm expecting I want to see the Raiders do more two tight end sets to try to open up some holes to get him some running room and start see him peel off some of those 100 yard games. Um, but this is a good stepping stone. Pete Carroll, 1-0 as the Raiders head coach. The team's probably feeling real good, and we'll see if they're able to actually use this as positive momentum to figure out, how high they can go this season. Brock Bowers had a great game. I believe like 9 catches, almost 100 yards. He's the stud. He's probably after last year, he's already a top 5 tight end in the league, and he
oh yeah,
did that with O'Connell. So, I mean, Geno Smith's going to utilize him. Um the other cat, the wide receiver, had a pretty decent game. I'm forgetting his name, but he had a pretty decent game. So yeah, this is a stepping stone they needed. There's a game they couldn't afford to cough up. it's interesting to see what they do in the next 3 games. Will they end up 2-2? Will they end up 3-1? Right now, they're a game up on Kansas City. That's more than Raiders fans have felt in literally a half decade or more. So for them to be in this position, tied with San Diego, it's early, but these are the
Early.
games that you got to win, and they pulled it out.
Yep. And here's another one other way to look at it as well. The Patriots are a good team. They're up and coming for sure, but they're not the Patriots of Tom Brady's era at all. Okay, this is a game that the Raiders had enough talent that they should win. And the most important thing about the regular season in regards to getting to the playoffs or getting a good seeding into the playoffs is winning the games you're supposed to win. You know what I'm saying? Like you take a loss to Kansas City here or there, that's awesome. Like we understand, but you should be beating teams like this because you're just slightly better than they are. So, congratulations to the Raiders on the big win. And like Steve said, at 1-0, they actually sit above Kansas City, who lost to the Chargers on Friday night in Sao Paulo. But Patrick Mahomes still got me 26 points in fantasy. Anyway, all right. So our next and final subject for this block will be the new Week 18 NFL rivalry jerseys. Now, every team is going to have their own specific jersey. I am focusing, of course, as a 49ers fan, on the 49ers ones. I want that jersey, period, point blank. Swab knows what my affinity is after playing college football, just like his, for the black jerseys. And yeah, that looks badass. That looks badass.
I
And
think they made a slight mistake on that one, but
what's that? What would you have done?
inverted the colors on the numbers and actually had gold numbers with the red highlights.
I can see that. I can see that. I do.
It's
Do you want to know
minor.
what?
It's still a good looking jersey, and a lot of them are fire. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
front. There's a lot of good looking jerseys out there. A couple, but I want to say at least half of them are amazingly good ideas.
And that's one thing I love about it is I'm like, I can't wait to see what the Seahawks one is. I'm pretty sure I could probably go look it up, but I'm gonna let myself wait until week 18 to check it out. As like I said before, they will be okay, Cat. I love you, but you got to move your head off my hand
Yeah, there
here.
were some when they unveiled them, and they were. I mean, they're legit. About half of them are just fire, including the Niners. I like it.
Yeah,
I just would have inverted those two colors on the numbers because I don't think I can ever remember them actually having gold lettering, which would have been cool.
all their
Um,
black jerseys they've had the red lettering on.
yeah,
Yeah,
with gold highlights here and there, but
yeah.
the Miami Dolphins one is dope. The Browns one isn't bad. So I mean,
Are they
there's
all black or are they different colors?
different colors. I want to say the Dolphins one that I saw, it looked like their teal color or whatever color that is on their helmet. And it's kind of yeah, check them all out. There's some real nice ones out there where I was like, man, they ought to make that the standard.
All right, let's take a look. Let's see if we can find some images here. Yeah, that show the 49ers. Let's see. These look kind of dope. Can't get the. Let's get the. There we go. All right, here we go. I'll give you a shot of a few of them here to take a look at. There you go. So we seem to have, it looks like the Cardinals. That looks like the Colts. This looks like the Jaguars. That's the Niners, of course. That Rams one looks super sick. I guess that's Seattle's.
Yeah, some of them are fire.
Yeah, that looks super dope. Okay, so we'll drop that there. All right, y'all. So that will be the last subject for this week. So what we're going to do next is answer the question, the sports quiz question from today. See if Suave has his hat on. As Genius had on the 1995 MLB season, which player became the first to hit 50 home runs and 50 doubles in the same year?
Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds. Unfortunately, the answer to that question is no, because the answer to this question is Albert Bell
Albert
with the Cleveland
Bell.
Indians.
Haven't thought about him in a minute. Man, he could hit.
Yeah, he could, especially home runs. Right?
Yeah, and he had that anger
Dude
issue. That's back when Cleveland was good. I don't think they ever won a ring with that team. But
no,
Jim
no.
Tomei, they had Albert Bell. Can't really remember everybody else they had. Those are like the two biggest names on the squad, but Albert Bell was cranking homers. He had like 4 or 5 50+ homer seasons. He was just macking the ball. And
It
I
was
don't
him
know
and
what he's
Pujols.
doing. Huh?
I'll say it was him and Pujols.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I kind of might need to do a deep dive and see what Albert Bell is doing with his life right now, to be honest. Because I mean, some people they don't necessarily stay in the limelight, but they kind of peripheral around the show.
yeah.
Albert Bell disappeared. So I hope he's okay because the dude was a monster.
I want to say he definitely retired,
Oh
but
yeah, he's for sure
yeah,
retired. I just don't know what he's doing with his life.
we'll have to look that up. Come back to that. All right, y'all. So that's going to do it for the first half of the show. We talked a little NFL week 1 and a couple of key games there. We are going to from now go on to the NBA, or should I say, we'll start with the WNBA, and we'll get to that right after this little 5-minute break. And yeah, thanks for joining us here on the Classroom Featuring, either on YouTube or on Twitch, wherever you find us. Hope you're enjoying. I'm Dark Lord 100. That's Dark Suave. We'll be right back.
This is now versus then. This is now versus then. Get on your mark, let's go. This is now versus then. Burning up your radio, still turning up the heat with Poetic on the flow. Got you moving to the beats with the Saint as your host. Shout out the collective, hold it down, we gon' clown, that's the lesson. Where Generation X meets Generation Next, with them bangers from the east to the south to the west. Yeah, it's how we do it in Sacktown. Slide to the studio, yup, it goes down. Everybody fall through. These beats gon' pound, waking the game up, told you it goes down. And this is only the intro. Turn the mics on, shout out to my kinfolk. Where you at, y'all? Let's get this started. Turn down for what we about to start the party. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. This is now versus then. This is now versus then. This is now versus then. This is now versus then.
that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But the definition of beauty is distorted. Yeah, come on. Searching for yourself, so insecure about the way you look, so you go to Miami. You can't find the love within yourself.
All right, there we go. And we are back. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little commercial break. Hope you guys enjoy everything. Damn it. All right, we are back to talk some more sports. But first, as always, we are going to kick off with a sports question quiz. Uh, and that one for you this week, Mr. Suave, is the Florida Marlins shocked the baseball world by winning the 1997 World Series in only their
Thank
fifth
you.
season. Who was named World Series MVP? We can get to that answer.
Thank you,
After
Marlins, for winning that series. Because man,
wasn't
I
that against
cannot
the
stand
Yankees?
the Stankies. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we don't have a banner for this, but we're gonna open up with. Yeah, we do. No, we don't. Hold on, real quick. Right now.
Man, I'm so juiced. That was a hell of a squad they had, too. But
Yeah, it was.
that's back in the day when Florida refused to keep teams together. So right after they won that title, they fell off the face of the earth. So much so that that was brutal,
Yeah.
absolutely brutal for their fandom.
All right, so we're gonna open this up with a little WNBA talk. Was hoping that O'Malley would be here for this because she's been talking about them all season long. But the Golden State Valkyries set history in three ways throughout this season, and then also at the close of this season with their last game. The first one is that they clinched a playoff berth. That was I believe they're like 28-13 in their inaugural season. They're the first ever WNBA team to do that, to clinch an expansion team to do that. So that's congratulations to the Valkyries. Joe Lacob touch, kind of makes me wish Joe Lacob had bought the A's. Well, I'll say, and they also set a record for fan turnout and most fans to come to a game all season, like 397,000 plus attended Valkyries games. They sold out like all 20 of their home games this season. Looks like San Francisco is showing that love to the Valkyries the same way they show it to the Warriors. Even though some of my friends don't want to admit that San Francisco does show love to the Warriors because he hates the fact that they're not in Oakland. San Francisco does show love to the Dubs. They're still selling out games. I believe that sellout streak has not ended. The one that started at Oracle has not ended. They are still selling out games at Chase Center. So, Swab, what are your thoughts on the Valkyries making the playoffs and setting the WNBA record for attendance all in the same season?
Kind of a Cinderella story. They haven't really done anything with it yet, but at least it's good to know that they're getting some attention and their crowds are, engaged and their fans are engaged. It's good for their league. I'll be curious to see going forward if Lacob is able to get any big name free agents to defect and come over to the Valkyries, but going to the playoffs in their first year should draw some interest. Unexpected, I guess you could say, is the biggest thing because it had never happened before. So them getting to the playoffs, if they can win a couple games, win a round maybe, really kind of create some buzz, it would be something to see. Um, I am a little sad because I'm not necessarily sure how their lottery system works, but would have been nice to get a couple of top three picks before they got to this point.
Where they
Um, you know,
got
picking later in the draft, regardless of whatever league, is all is a crapshoot. You never know if you're going to get the next stud or get somebody that's out of the league in a couple of years. So, but it is what it is. they're in the playoffs. They're playing good ball. They've got a puncher's chance to really do some damage. I mean, I don't think that they rank well against the top cream of the top of the league, but winning two out of every three games, they could they could have a magical season. I don't want to jinx it, so let me go ahead and knock on that wood real quick,
Well,
help them out. So we'll see what happens.
as it stands right now, they got a task ahead of them because at this point they're 23-19. They've locked up the 6th seed so far, but there are only 2 games. I don't know how many games they got left, but they're only 2 games uh, behind the Liberty for the 5 seed. But right now they are slotted to face the Las Vegas Aces, which is a former champion from, I want to say,
Former
just a
champ.
couple of years back. So if they can beat the Aces in the first round, I think that'll be historic. Like, you
Yeah.
can't deny them at that point. And then also I was reading a little article on them, and it was talking about how basically all they are is a bunch of, or not all they are, but the team was put together as a bunch of B-roll players and some international stars. Like the Valkyries weren't able to lock up a big name, to come and play for them that were available during the free agency of their inaugural season, before their inaugural season. So they're doing this. Their coach is doing this with the team that maybe realistically shouldn't be there.
Better
But
than the
who's to
sum of
say
its
that they should?
parts, but it's gelling at the right time.
You know what I'm saying? Like this Valkyrie season is a big, gigantic, like, if not us, then who statement. You know what I'm saying? Like, or why not us? Would maybe a better statement for that. And so I say congratulations to the Valkyries, to the head coach, to the players over there. I hope you guys. I'll be watching. I'll tune in because it's another Golden State team. Like I said, at this point, I'm a fan of Joe Lacob. I'll be honest with you. After what he did with the Dubs when he first took them over, and what he's doing with the Valkyries now, I'm a fan of Joe Lacob. So, but all right. So the next one that we have coming up, the next story that we have, it was a NBC Sports Bay Area article where they talked about how Brandon Podminsky revealed how the locker room views the Jonathan Kuminga saga. And it was pretty much what I expected it to be, which was that they ain't tripping. Like, they understand this is business. This is how things go, and he's just trying to get his money. He's just trying to make sure that he has control of his career as he begins to move forward. So what are your thoughts on Podminsky's statement about
Didn't say nothing profound. I mean, this was to be expected. It's the business side of the NBA. It looks like Kaminga's most likely going to sign the 1-year tender, which is not good for the Warriors. It'd be terrible for them. They're at some point during the season, if he signs, they're going to have to ship him out to recoup something. They got him during one of the downturn years where there was an injury bug, and they had a lot of good draft picks. So you don't want to see him leave for nothing. He doesn't want to play, obviously, for Sacramento, who wanted to pay him. If I'm the Warriors, I would have dealt him straight up for Giddy from Chicago. I really like that kid. I think he rebounds better and is a better shooter. So I
that?
would have made that deal in a heartbeat. But I guess it wasn't necessarily on the table because he's over there in Chicago battling for a contract as well, and I guess he wants something around like 30 million a season, which is comparable to what Kaminga wants. Um, I mean, really
Well,
wasn't
the
about much. And
Warriors. I'll say the Warriors have already met Kuminga's number with the 2-year contract. What he's worried about, at least according to what I've read about his camp, is they're more concerned with the control over his future.
yeah,
He
because I
wants to be
mean,
more in control of what's going to go on with his future.
he bet on himself last year. It didn't work out.
Yeah,
The Warriors did offer him a 4-year deal before that season or early on in that season, and he told them no. He thought he could earn more. Turns out he couldn't earn more, even based off of his potential and his last, few games in the playoffs when we, lost Steph and lost our shot. So he's betting on himself again. I think that, with is well within his right. Um, there hasn't been a ton of times that I can remember where it's worked out for the player in that sense, especially in this role. Typically, the players that do this are in a defined role that they're excelling in, and he has yet to find that role and excel in that role that's asked of him. So I'm expecting him to sign the 1 year tender and to get traded before the deadline.
All right. Now, there's some that would say that the trade for Jimmy Butler effectively sealed Kuminga's fate and how he is kind of at the center point because basically the minutes in the segment in the place that Kuminga thought he belonged in eventually went to Jimmy Butler. But I've always said my major problem with this argument, especially from Kuminga's camp, is sorry, Kuminga, you're a good kid, but you're nowhere near on the level of Jimmy Butler on the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, even just
Yeah.
all around, he's not
So,
Jimmy Butler, even at Jimmy
so,
Butler's advanced age.
so it's like, why not take this as an opportunity to say, okay, well, they got somebody here who's in the mold of who I want to be. Why don't I stay here, sign a long-term contract, sign a 2-3 year deal, maybe ask for a player option for a fourth deal instead of a team option, and then
He wants to get paid sooner rather than later. He wants to be featured sooner rather than later. He doesn't even want to wait. This Warriors team has a realistic 2 year window, this coming season and the season after, where they can effectively vie for a title. He doesn't want to wait for those 2 years to end and be part of a championship team. He wants to go to a team or be on a team where he's the man and he has the green light and he can play. They focus the offensive game plan around who he is now versus him succumbing to a role or acquiescing to be in a role. So that's what it seems like to me. He has never bought into being a Warrior, and that's shown by him not spending any time in the off season at the actual training facility, rather doing his own thing out by where he lives, wherever his family's at, instead of bringing them to him. So, like I said, the he should have taken the Kings trade. Warriors should have fought and maybe added picks to get Giddy from Chicago, but Kuminga's on borrowed time. He will not be
well,
a
okay,
Warrior. He will not end this next season as a Warrior.
I will say this. The only thing I will say is he wanted to go to the Kings. The Kings had a deal that he was all good with. The deal breaker was what the Kings were offering back the Warriors wasn't what the Warriors wanted. Like there were
Yeah.
specific players they wanted from the Kings, and the Kings were like, "No, we're not putting them up." And so they were like, "Well, no, then you don't get, then you don't get, then you don't get Jonathan Kuminga. Sorry."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would have just traded him to Sacramento because I believe at one point they offered Malik Monk. That would have been enough for me, to take and bring in, being what they have coming back in Gary Payton Jr. and what they expect to have coming in Al Horford and who else was it? Melton. You know what I'm saying?
Might be
Take
one of
Monk.
those rare times the Warriors end up with egg on their face if they don't deal him by the trade deadline. But we'll see what happens because he still holds some power in this conversation because he doesn't have to sign an extension with whoever he's traded to.
Right.
So he could, become a rental. It's going to be real curious to see how the season unfolds and how he buys into his role, which I doubt I mean, if he signs a 1 year tender, he's going to be the exact same player he was last year, the same player he's been his entire time there. He's going to do what he wants to do, which is put the ball in the bucket, become a kind of a black hole on offense, lackadaisical on defense, not be a key component to winning a chip. So,
We'll see. We'll see. But I think the Warriors look good this year. I just hope they get this all wrapped up so everybody can get into training. Let's go because I think they have a solid team this year. All right, so one more story before we bounce, and that is Pat Beverly, who made a bold claim on his podcast, the Pat Bev podcast with Rome, where he said he believes that the Warriors could have won more than 4 titles during their run had they had Paul George at the 2 instead of Klay Thompson. I don't know. I don't necessarily think so. I think Klay was the perfect fit, just like Draymond and Steph were for that system and for that team. And I think if you swap any of those 3 out, I don't know. I don't think it's a sure shot that they win anything at all, yet alone more than 4. What are your thoughts, Swab, on Pat Beverly's words there?
at his height, Paul George was an incredible player. Probably at his height, I want to say he was top 15, maybe top 20
Uh,
for sure, I would say. Um, would he have gotten more titles with the Warriors than Klay Thompson? I'm gonna say absolutely not, because not only were the Warriors in their heyday when they were winning those early chips were offensive powerhouses, they were also a defensive powerhouse, and Paul George is not known for his defense. And Klay
yeah, he's
Thompson was
not.
one of the best defenders for his position. So, I mean, I think it's Klay Thompson over Paul George. I mean, I respect Pat Beverly. He brought himself up from nothing, hung around the league for over a decade, purely on defense. So I respect what he says, but knowing how this team is built, no.
No, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I feel the same. Don't get me wrong. I thought that Paul George would have been a great compliment to Steph, Clay, and Draymond at the three, but I never looked at him as a replacement for Clay. Like I've always thought Clay was the better
I would have
option
liked
for
Paul
this Warriors
George
team.
last year when we had, or the year before when we had CP3 and we were going to deal CP3 for Paul George straight up. And Paul George said no. So I can't say that Paul George would have helped us win more titles than Klay Thompson when he didn't want to be here when he could have come later in his career.
Yeah. All right, now in today's world of racism is everywhere. Germany's Dennis Schroeder was a target of racial abuse at the FIBA tournament for Euro basketball just recently. And supposedly the fans that did it have been banned from. Some have been banned from the rest of the tournament. Others have been banned from the like the next few games, kind of like the old Tyrese Halliburton's dad thing for walking a thing. But yeah, man, I guess even if you go across the pond, it's still there, slapping you in the face.
Oh yeah, you're
What are your
never going to
thoughts
get
on that?
away from it.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. Oh, nice. Okay, so this next story I don't have a banner for, but let me just throw it at you real quick. Just recently reading a thing about how to add to a long list of Steph Curry's accomplishments, the Warriors superstar has teamed up with legendary chef Mikel Mina for a bar and restaurant collaboration in Union Square, per the San Francisco Chronicle. Mina will bring back his bourbon steakhouse restaurant with Curry's bourbon bar, Eighth Rule, across the lobby in the Westin St. Francis. Okay, so Steph Curry is opening up. This is what we talk about when we talk about players investing in the communities in which they may not necessarily live, but in which they play. Steph did a lot of stuff for Oakland when the Warriors were in Oakland and playing at Oracle, and now he's doing things and making money out there in San Francisco and doing nice things, setting stuff up. What are your thoughts on Eighth Rule and Steph Curry having a restaurant out there in San Fran?
I might try and eat there once. It's probably going to be highbrow, $100, 200, $250 steaks and stuff like that, since it is a steakhouse. Jordan owns a steakhouse. It'll have some $50 plates, but it's probably going to be $50 and up per plate type of joint. Which, at that level, you should be able to get outstanding chefs. So the food's almost always going to be immaculate. So it's one of those, I'm going to go there once a year type deals. It's not going to be like, the classic
Every
day I get
Friday
the
night.
quarter pounder. Yeah, for real. So
Yeah.
let me just go drop this paycheck off to Steph Curry's house real quick.
No shit, no shit. All right, y'all. So that is all we have outside of answering the final
Hold on.
sports question quiz.
We
What's
got
up?
one more thing.
What's that?
The Kawhi Leonard and
Oh yeah, huh?
yeah, that whole thing. I couldn't let you get away with that one because I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest. If Ballmer was paying him under the table with endorsements that he didn't have to do anything for on top of his normal contract, this is just like what happened with Minnesota when they signed Joe Smith and they lost draft picks. And some people are even saying that if this is true, to really stomp it out of the league, they need to force Ballmer to sell, which would be crazy because he's full in on basketball, obviously being able to wanting to or being willing to break the rules to try to have a good team.
Yeah.
So at minimum, they need to lose a few draft picks, and it needs to be harsher than what Minnesota went through. I believe they lost 2 firsts, if I'm not mistaken, for Joe Smith, and it voided Joe Smith's contract, and he wasn't allowed to sign with the T Wolves. So I don't see them going that far back. And some people went all crazy. They were like, "Well, if this was signed a few years ago, then it should negate the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander
Oh
contract."
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
no, we're not going to do that. But
yeah. We ain't doing all that.
I could see them negating Kawhi's contract, although I don't agree. I think they ought to just suspend Kawhi and, take 3 or 4 seasons worth of draft picks away from San Diego, and somebody's going to have to pay the price, and it's going to have to hurt.
Yeah, yeah. I see
If
it.
it's
I see it.
true. I wouldn't. Right now, reporting shows or saying that it's pretty concrete that they got caught with their pants down trying to do this underhanded stuff. But we'll see. And then maybe it's perforated around the league. Maybe there's a lot of teams that have done the exact same, and they just haven't been found out, and no one actually knew to look.
All right. So from an article on The Athletic by Joe Verdon, Sam Amick, and Mike Vokolov, says the decision is a clear sign that the league is taking seriously the allegations by anonymous employees of San Francisco's based Green Bank Aspiration, who told Pablo Torres Find Out podcast that the 4-year, $28 million endorsement deal Leonard received from the company in 2022 was for a no-show job intended to circumvent the NBA salary cap. Subsequent reporting by the Boston Sports Journal alleged that Leonard also had a second deal worth approximately $20 million that was set to be paid in company stock belonging to co-founder Joe Sandberg, who has since agreed to plead guilty to defrauding investors of $248 million. Yeah, this one's going to be huge. It's going to be one that we're going to have to track and follow for sure, because it's going to be ongoing. This isn't going to be solved overnight.
I understand, Balmer. You got billions of dollars. You're willing to do anything to try to win. You want to win a ring so bad. And being a Warriors fan that went through 20 years of freaking Cohen, who didn't even want to try to win, and essentially the team was just a paycheck or an asset that would accumulate him more money. I feel for the Los Angeles Clipper fans. At least you got an owner willing to do everything, including try to break rules or break unwritten rules or rules that haven't been made yet to try to get you a winning team. But the NBA, once all this comes out and everything's verified and all that, if this is true, this should cost them 3, 4 seasons of first round picks, which might not sound like it hurts, but it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, so that will wrap us up. We'll get to the sports quiz question of the day. The Florida Marlins shocked the baseball world by winning the 1997 World Series over the New York Yankees in only their 5th season. Who was named World Series MVP, sir?
So I might be confusing Marlin titles, but Luis Gonzalez?
He was on that team, but he was not the World Series MVP. The World Series MVP
was the pitcher. I forget his name. I remember he had the hugest strike zone. Hernandez? No.
Yeah. There you go, Livan Hernandez.
That's his name.
I was going to introduce him by saying he's the only pitcher that I ever threw a no-hitter with in Triple Play 98 against the computer.
I remember watching his strike zone, and it was one of the first times I was like, we need computers out there, because he gave him an extra half a strike zone on the outside, and he was just striking dudes out right and left. And if I'm not mistaken, he pitched for the Giants for a year or two.
Uh-huh. He did that. He did.
I couldn't remember which Marlins title it was because they keep one-shotting them. And I want to say Luis Gonzalez won the one after that.
I think you may be thinking of Luis Gonzalez winning it when he was with the Diamondbacks.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm trying to picture it in my head when he hit the little blooper to finish him off.
Yeah, that was when right. Curt Schilling.
That's after.
Curt Schilling and what was his name? The big guy from Seattle.
Big unit, Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson. Him and Randy Johnson were there 1-2 for the
That's right.
for the what you call it that year.
Right player,
Yeah.
wrong team.
Yep. I remember I was living in Arizona when they won that title, and that
Yeah,
was
Seattle thought
hilarious.
he was cooked, and Randy said, "Nah, I'm not cooked."
Yep, I still got some left in me. All right, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed, learned a little bit of history and a few other things today on the classroom, and hopefully we'll be back with O'Malley next week. Swap's taking the week off. So other than that, y'all stay up, stay right, and be sure to keep tuning in to First GenXers Broadcast Network and the Double KK Double Network right here on Twitch, YouTube, Live 365. Oh, check out the website too, 2KK2network.com. Real simple to remember. Check us out. You can find everything for all the shows there. And we'll see you later. Any last words for him, Swab?
For O'Malley, we'll go ahead and say fuck LeBron, and the NBA better come down with a flaming thunderous hammer if it turns out that these allegations with Kawhi and the Clippers are true.
Oh, also one last thing. That LeBron commercial is stupid. Period. I'm just gonna put it like that. It ain't even hating on him. That LeBron commercial is just plain stupid. First and foremost, bro, let's start with this. You did not defeat all of your rivals. You didn't. You went 1-2 against the Spurs. You went 1-3 against the Warriors. That's not defeat. Okay, I guess
And
technically
got
at
blessed
least
for each of those.
Oh yeah, and went 2-2 against Spurs. Sorry, I guess okay, you got at least 1 or 2 wins against each of your rivals, but you didn't defeat them. Almost all of your rivals, with an exception for even Kevin Durant individually has a 2-1 record against you in the NBA Finals. So, bro, like, just stop hyping yourself up. Stop the hype train. Put it on pause because you are what you are. You can let your
The
resume
only
speak
one
for
he's
itself.
over is Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler and him were never considered rivals. So right now he has a losing record to KD, losing record to friggin' Steph. I mean, Steph is the winningest person in his own era. So,
So,
typical Bron, ego driven.
oh yeah. But Bron fans will have their day to reminisce
And I
about
guess
that.
technically is right. He has beaten his rivals. He just doesn't have winning records against them.
Yeah, against him, exactly. And I think I would be one that would be happy to point that out to any Bron fan that wants to holler. So, all right, like I said, y'all, for those of you who just tapped in, sorry, we're at the end of the show. We'll be back next week. And thank you for joining us, whoever you are, wherever you are. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Fuck LeBron.